And that interpretation is that there's a long-lasting, independent, separate entity called Paul here, mostly because of the identification as being a body. And that system of thought and interpretation I call self-centeredness. And I suffered from an extreme case of self-centeredness that produced a lot of consequences in my life, seeking relief from it. And those consequences took up a lot of my time. I was put into for me, my solutions created a magnetic appeal to people in uniform. I started to get in a lot of trouble attempting to get my solutions. And the consequences just kept building up. But the consequences weren't enough to convince me to stop doing what I was doing, because I was willing to pay any consequence tomorrow not to feel uncomfortable now. And in the state that I was seemingly in, I was uncomfortable. What happened with me is that state is called self-centeredness, and obviously the way it says it is the way it's built. It's all centered on this idea of being a self. And when I questioned that, who was this Paul, I started getting some relief because I didn't find anyone there. And what I saw was I was really just reacting to an interpretation by my mind. The brain and the mind, what we call the mental process, produces a product called the sense of being a self, a long-lasting, independent, separate entity, reinforced by your perception of a body. That sense of a self, the first movement that it has in it, that mental process, is to claim what's ever going on. Instead of seeing that there's seeing, you think it's I'm seeing. Same thing with thinking. This is what drives people crazy. A thought is just a thought until it becomes my thought. As soon as there's an identification as the thinker of it, that thought has a lot of meaning, because you believe the thought's bringing you meaning, but the identification as Paul downloads meaning into the thought. All of your old conditioning, all your old beliefs, all your old ideas, it's as if when there's conscious contact and the mental process arises and says, I'm in conscious contact, that I is attached to tons of files that download, into that event, and then that download gets projected and gives meaning to that thought or what you saw or what you heard or what you felt or what you taste. That is the interpretative event. If you have an idea about life, and you're going to, from self-centeredness, you're going to have preconceived ideas of how things are going to look. And so maybe you have a desire to be loved or to get acknowledged or just to feel like a sense of belonging. But that's not enough for self-centeredness, that urge or that desire. It has an idea of how it has to look. And so when that package comes and it doesn't look like it's in the package you thought, you will probably say no to that delivery. Life is bringing a lot of things at all times in all directions, but you have an idea of how it's supposed to look like, where it's supposed to come, when it's supposed to come, and you miss the deliveries all day. And then you have a story about how I've never gotten anything, I've never been loved and everything like that. Love's been all around you probably. You just haven't seen it because you're blind, because you're stuck with a way of looking called self-centeredness. It wants to be right. It's very important for self-centeredness to be right.